Hello and welcome to the Feminine Vitae podcast. In this series, we're speaking to women sharing their experiences with different reproductive health conditions. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, age and occupation, so we can get to know you a bit better.
Yeah, I'm Stephanie Croft. I'm 33 and I'm a civil servant.
So have you been diagnosed with endometriosis, and if yes, how did you go about getting diagnosed?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis when I was just before I was 27. I battled to get people to listen since the age of 14. I was in and out of hospital. They removed my appendix. There's nothing wrong with my appendix. I used to go and used to get said, oh yes, we know Miss Croft, she can't handle a monthly, all that kind of thing, and telling me it was all in my head. I thought, the flooding and everything was normal. I was the girl at school with the hot water bottle strapped to her, and if it got too much, laid on the bed and, with pads and everything, because otherwise I would be leaking at school. I had my first surgery, and I had what they call a frozen pelvis, so everything was fused together by adhesions, and it was a bit of relief because being told it's all in your head for basically most of your teenage years and your 20s. I broke down. I burst into tears. It was like, okay, so I know that there's it's not in my head. But then the battle continues. It was trying to get somebody to go see like gynae or go see a specialist. I tried different trusts. I tried Wakefield. I moved down to the Peak District and was at Chesterfield, and there was one woman there and she was fabulous, but unfortunately after a breakup, which mainly was caused by endometriosis and not being able to have sex and I'm not moody to the point where I get angry. I cry and become very I go in myself, and and I lost all my friends. I now, because of this community that we've got, I actually have friends again. I can go out and meet Kesha. I suffer from anxiety because of it, because I was so scared. When I was a kid, I had to ring my mum to come and get me when I got off a bus because I'd bled and I had to tie my school jumper around my waist. Things like that, which, a 14-year-old girl shouldn't really have to be dealing with. I also swam for Leeds, so it was very, very difficult because you couldn't miss training. And when I did, obviously it'd be like having to explain to the coach, and she's like, oh, well, we all go through them. It doesn't mean you should take time off, but she didn't quite understand what was going on. My mum, bless her, used to give me whiskey and hot water just so I could get some sleep and some pain relief, because nothing took it away. My mum's been one of my biggest advocates. She has been amazing, and so has my dad. But after that, I then started to have more problems, and from it I've got fibromyalgia and I've got rheumatoid arthritis. Because I was left so long with the pain I had, my body reset. So I'm exhausted constantly, I'm bloated constantly. I can only live in stretchy jeans or dresses with leggings because I look 6-7 months pregnant, and I get asked how far are you gone, and it's horrible because I don't think I'll ever be able to have children, because last week I had a scan which I battled for 9 months, and they cancelled it and then they reset it. During that time I got sent to A&E because my doctor was worried that my left ovary was in torsion, and they were like, no, and anyway I was there for hours, and then they were like, just sent me, oh, you've got a scan anyway, so you just go, and if you throw up anything like acid, then come back in. I throw up acid anyway. And when I had my scan, found out that my left ovary is completely fixed. They can't see my fallopian tube and they can't see blood going around my ovary. So it sounds like my ovaries died, and nobody paid any attention to me when I said it. I get married next year. Sorry. And, starting a family was always something I always wanted, and it took me a long time to find the man that I actually, want to marry. He never leaves my side. If I'm in hospital, he holds my hand and constantly. He's researched it. I told him on our first date, and he went away and researched everything that he possibly could, and he went, I'm not gonna mansplain, I'm sure you've done everything. He's like, but just tell me what you need. When he'll get up in the middle of the night, and I don't know how I would be able to do it without him. And it's just things, and it's so hard in relationships because we can't really have sex. We've got to plan it, because then as long as I don't have work the next day, because we know that I could end up bleeding or having, you know, another cyst pop, and he hates it that he's going, you know, he feels like he's hurting me. But I am very, very lucky with him, and well, he says he's lucky too, but we put up with each other, I suppose.
It sounds like you've got a really understanding partner.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome, and he's completely different to who I used to date. And I think that was something that I learned as well, especially in my 20s. It's all right going out with the good-looking guys, but I had one guy ask me, "Oh, well, isn't it caused by an STI?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, it must be. It must be down. You know, you must have caught something from someone." And I was like, the guy I was with was the guy I lost my virginity to. I was 17, 18. You know, I'm very upfront about it. When I decided I'd start dating again, I was about 31 and a half, and I was like, right, because I did say I was going to be a mad cat lady. That was my kind of ambition. I was just like, right, no, I'm not dealing with any men anymore, because I can't, apart from my dad. Like, you know, and when I met Alistair, he just, when I was talking to him, I said to him, look, if you want a big family, I'm not going to be the girl for you. Then he was just like, what you've just said reminds me of something my mum told me about her having fibroids, and that she lost twins. She lost triplets, and she had to have a hysterectomy really early. My mum had to have a hysterectomy at 29 after my sister and me, because she was, it was just a mess. And she nearly bled out when she had my big brother. You know, it was things like that. And they just told her, oh, it's just a woman's thing, it's just a woman's thing. And then when they removed it, they found that actually it wasn't right at all. But they didn't have a name for it back then. So, and I get it a lot. Oh no, we can't give you a hysterectomy. I know it won't cure it. And, you know, like, what about children? I'm like, I'd love to carry, but all of the things happen. Like, my cervix is damaged due to surgery. You know, I have to be stitched up if I get pregnant. I have, you know, I've only got one ovary where, like, that looks like it's working. I was like, if it all fails, I will adopt, because there's so many kids out there who need, you know, good parents. We've got a nice home, we've got good jobs, but it still niggles you at the back of your head that you're not fulfilling what you feel like you should be fulfilling. Like my twin, she'd rather have, you know, a waggy tail and 4 paws. She'd much rather, but for her, she's even said she'd carry for me and ruin her body, which is a lot nicer than mine. She's very, very slim, where I'm slim, and then I just go, and it's the pain, I can't even describe it. I nearly passed out at work yesterday with a sharp pain that felt like someone was a hot screwdriver digging into my, like, pelvic region, all under and up and everything. And it was my bigger boss. She has endometriosis as well, and she's 40 odd, and she's learnt how to deal with it at work, so she's helping me. You know, she says, you know, I've stood up in meetings and dropped at floor after a sister's birth. She says, the pain and that. She says, but diet, make sure, you know, your diet's good. Make sure you're doing light exercise. Make sure you're taking your tablets when you're supposed to take them. All this sort of thing. She's been really, really good with me. And I've lost so many jobs because I'd wake up and I'd have flooded and I'd be in agony. And, you know, it's just like things like that. And then you get to the point where you don't phone an ambulance anymore, even though they say to, because of the amount of blood you've lost. You just don't. You don't bother. You just ride it out, because what's the point? I've been called a drug seeker at hospital before. Oh, she's just here for drugs. I'm like, I have stronger painkillers. I'm on Oxynorm. I have got stronger painkillers at home than I have that you'll give me, which is Oromorph. And they still treat you like you're just after opiates. And it's things like that. You're just not believed at all. I've not had surgery for 5 years, even though I've been begging people to look at what's happening. I went to Scarborough, our first ever weekend away, mine and Alistair's. I flooded all over the hotel, ended up in Scarborough A&E, and they scanned me and said they could see it on my bowel. They were like, there's definitely something not right about your bowel. They sent me back to Leeds. Honestly, you just have to keep fighting, and I'm not giving up.
Yeah, sorry, I was going through the questions, but I think you're sort of ticking them off like as it goes along. So no, it's really good. So is there anything that triggers the symptoms for you, like any food or situations that make it worse?
Stress is one of the biggest things I find. as soon as I'm starting to get stressed, obviously all your muscles tighten. So if you're tensing, you're going to tense everything, and then it just spasms, and it feels like someone's stabbing you. But stress is a big thing. I've tried to stay away from carbs, but the love of pizza is too much. So that is one of my downfalls. I can't help it. I do find, like, if I go out on a night out, then I will be in bed for 2 days. It's just as simple as that. Drink is a big one. But like, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I have used alcohol to numb the pain, because you're in so much pain that the only thing you can do, and you have a glass of wine and it starts to ease, and you have a bit more and have a bit more. And that is how I dealt with it in my 20s, because I just didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was happening to me. And to try and deal with it, and then lose all your friends because you're not going out anymore, and you can't go to this gig. And I mean, I used to be a photographer for bands around Leeds. I couldn't stand up for that long. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't go to festivals, and it kind of destroyed me a bit, to be perfectly honest, because I realised, I didn't think I wasn't qualified for anything. So it's taken me a long time to get the job I've got, but now I've got it. So it's just fight. You just got to keep.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting, really exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, you said that you don't use alcohol to cope with it anymore.
No, I have a drink. But...
So yeah. Well, I was just going to ask, like, is there anything you do in terms of any nutritional things you do to help, any essential oils or any sort of lifestyle?
Lavender.
Lavender.
I have a what's it called? An oil lamp, like a vape lamp. So I use lavender in that. I have an acupuncture mat that I lay on because I've got herniated discs as well. So I, reline my spine and just relax for a bit. There's a couple of apps that are really good, that it just, even if it just plays waves and stuff, you just try and take yourself out of where you are at that time. Baths. Oh my gosh. The best thing about lavender bath salts are the best thing ever. One, you're relaxing because you're in a bath, but two, like, the lavender really helps you kind of relax and just unclench, because I think I spend the 90% of my day with my stomach clenched. I mean, if it turned my stomach, I would have such a flat tummy, it'd be amazing, but it doesn't do it. You're just constantly like that, and you're pulling it in because you think, oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm so fat, and there's all that sort of stuff. I mean, I take vitamin D and B, especially when it gets to winter, because we've got no sun. And I take things like fish oils, because my joints are so bad that that's just a byproduct of the endo. So and I'm a vegetarian, so I just cut meat out completely for the last 12 years. So that does help, because I can't digest it, and I really struggled to digest it. So that was before I got told everything was like squished together. So it would be a case of I'd eat a steak and then I would throw up a steak. It was pretty horrendous. But avoid red meat. It's not good for you. It's really not. I'm not saying that as a veggie either. I'm saying
there's a lot in
really not
news recently about that. I think people are starting to like step away from it a bit.
Yeah, it's so hard to digest.
So in terms of your support networks, what kind of, either online or in person, what support do you get, and how does that help you get through the condition?
For me, having the Facebook support group and realising I wasn't alone, and it's taken a while, but it's lovely. I can reach out, I can say, I'm having the worst day, like last Wednesday when I found out that my ovary was possibly dead, I could reach out, I could say, I've had a really crappy day and this is what's happened, and people are there straight away. I know I can ring Kesha, I can ring people, and even if it's over Facebook, that really helps. For me, having my partner, obviously, my twin sister, even though she doesn't live close, I have quite a good, now I have a very good family network. I can ring my dad, I can ring my mum, and my family are very open about things like that. And as my dad says, he's put up with my mum's for since 1974. He's like, I can deal with my daughters, it's all right. So I'm quite lucky with that. I do keep myself to myself quite a lot, and my other half does say to me, you need to talk, because I do kind of bottle it up and not talk. But that's something I'm learning slowly, because when you're with non-endo friends, if you mention it, you generally get an eye roll, or oh God, here she goes again, or just get over it. Can't you do yoga? Can't you eat coconut oil or kale or this, that and the other? And they just seem to think that it's like the cure for everything. And it's, oh, why don't you have a hysterectomy? It's like, it doesn't cure it. It's still going to be there, Oh, we'll get it all cut out. Well, we try that, but unfortunately it's like Hydra, cut one off, two grow back, and that's what it is. And I know that I'm at that point where I'm going to have to, because of the symptoms that I'm having at the moment, and to the point where I've got a doctor's review tomorrow afternoon, and I have to be re-referred back to gynae, which is also a completely ridiculous thing of why, when you've got endometriosis, you get seen, you get discharged, yet with some, it's going to be lifelong. So why can't you just be under a gynae? Why can't you have a gynecologist that you see every 6 months? Why can't you have one that, if it gets wrong, you've got a number to ring and say, look, this is happening, can somebody help me? But there is nothing like that, absolutely nothing. And if you do go down, or you do ring the ward they always put you on is the early pregnancy ward, which, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most horrendous places you can put someone who has endometriosis, because all these people are pregnant, and then there's you who probably will never be able to have a child, and it's horrible. And they just, I know it's not their fault, but it needs to be renamed. It needs to be. It's just ridiculous. You go in and see these little perfect little round bumps on, and you're just like, that's never going to be me. So there's the healthcare profession need to be properly informed. But I'm not going to have a dig too much because my twin's a sister, so not for women though.
Is there any advice you'd give to other people with endometriosis, maybe if they've just been diagnosed, or if they're looking for...
Reach out to someone, find a group, find people, find a good group that's supporting, support you and that you can talk to. Get the information, that you can from them, because they give you like this is what endometriosis in this little box, this is what it is. And it's not, there's so many different like symptoms, and like some people will have the most severe migraines and be sick and can't, and or there'll be somebody who is constantly throwing up, or somebody who has constant diarrhea, but it's things like that, and you're like, is this just because I had something to eat? Is this caused by that? You just don't know. And then if you ask someone, goes, actually this happened to me, or this is happening, or being able to talk about relationships as well, and saying I feel guilty that I can't have a normal relationship, that I have to basically make my partner, my husband, to be celibate. It's horrible, but if you've got people to talk to, it's made it 10 times easier for me. It really has, because otherwise I wouldn't have the strength that I have now to be able to do the job I do, and to be able to actually be daring and go out into town to actually have a coffee, have a drink, and go shopping, because I'm so scared of falling on the floor and just grabbing my stomach, and then people think, I've been asked if I'm drunk, I've been asked, oh, were you pregnant? And as soon as you say no, they just leave you on, they just walk away. And the amount of times like bruises on my knees because I've just hit the deck, and it's embarrassing. And it shouldn't be embarrassing. You should be able to say, oh, I've got endometriosis, and people know what it is, and then they'll be like, right, do you need to sit down, do you need a glass of water, or something like that would be so helpful. But there's a long way to go, and a long way to fight when you're 13 and you've just started your periods, and they are beyond what anyone told you in sex ed, and you think you're a freak, you think it's you're wrong, and well, now it's only a teaspoon of blood. My goodness, it is not a teaspoon of blood. It's like, I remember just feeling like when I was 14 thinking, maybe there's something wrong with me, and I knew it, but no one listened, no one paid any attention, and just, you've got to keep fighting and not give up. And I know it's easier said than done, because it does cause mental health issues, and it does cause anxiety and depression, and like clinical PMS, which is something I have, it's, my partner has the excuse, oh yeah, she's got PMS, but he's actually being truthful when I start crying for no apparent reason, even if I just see a baby just, baby clothes, that sets me off sometimes. And, it's just, I don't know, you just got to learn food triggers, which everyone's different. Always have your survival kit in your bag. Have your painkillers, have your wet wipes, have your pads, I can't use tampons, I have to use pads. So it's a case of having as much as I possibly can and always having emergency tenner in my wallet just in case I need to get a taxi home quick, because you just never know when it's going to come on. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to ask if there's just anything else you want to say or get out there for people who might not be familiar with it, just as a general message about endometriosis.
Just don't feel like you're alone, and don't take it from doctors who are not endo specialists or gynecologists. If you're in that much pain, see your GP and get them to refer you to a gynecologist endometriosis specialist, because it's a horrible thing to say, but if you go to A&E, you will be ignored, and you will just basically have Oromor thrown at you and then told to leave. And that has happened to me on several different occasions. And it's a case of finding a good doctor, a good GP who you can talk to and have a relationship with, because you need to be able to discuss everything and anything, and it can be really quite embarrassing sometimes. But you've got to feel like you can talk to them, and it's taken me years. And you just got to fight and just not take no for an answer, and reach out, talk to people. You're not on your own. You're really not on your own. And I mean, for me, I'd never met anyone with endometriosis until I started joining, Facebook groups. And now I actually feel like I can talk and I've got a voice, rather than feeling like I'm just writing in my diary and crying. So, yeah. And your best friend will be your hot water bottle, so get a good one.
That sounds like an advice. Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to us. We've had some really good interviews today. Really, really good.
Thank you for listening to this podcast by Feminine Vitae. If you'd like to find out more about the different conditions we've covered and learn more about how to improve menstrual and reproductive wellbeing, please visit our website, femininevitae.co.uk.